5.
هاوي lads. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا بكم في برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد في هذه الحلقة الخاصة اليوم مع ضيوفنا من نيوكاسل السيد كيت باترسون صاحب قضية الإخلال بالمنافسة، وهو نعتبره بطل نيوكاسل لعام 2021-2020. ونستضيف أيضا الصحفي المتميز ليام كينيدي من نيوكاسل وورد وصحيفة شيلد جازيت من مدينة نيوكاسل. أيضا نستضيف صديق البرنامج من البحرين والمقيم حاليا في أوروبا ستيوارت بنمان. Lads and lasses, welcome to Newcastle, special show of Newcastle with وليد. With this legend in front of me, Keith Patterson, Liam Kennedy, Stuart Benman. Let's start with the hero of 2020-2021, Keith Patterson. Welcome, sir, again to the show.
Cheers,
and please give a chance to Liam and Stuart to talk as well.
I will do. I'm not going to talk very much. I think we're all on tonight because we just wait in anticipation for some news that we hope is going to come in the next 24 hours. It's like anything. I think when things get that close, it's easy. It makes more sense to be calm and be patient and to wait for the news to come through. But after waiting 18 months, I think the fans have got every right to be excited. I think that something big's coming close. But I think we've had so many false starts, and I think we've had so many ons and offs that we could be excused for not wanting to push, the thing too far tonight. The reason we're on here is because we've all worked hard for the takeover, all 4 of us on here have. But for people dialing in and watching it, I hope we haven't got longer to wait. But I'm just like you. I mean, all I'm hoping for is a takeover, nothing else. So how far away is it? If you listen to the press in the UK, and more so if you listen to the press who've been against the takeover, they all eat humble pie tonight. I mean, for Richard Keys to say that it'll happen quickly, for Simon Jordan, who 24 hours ago said it was deader than dead, I think that itself should speak volumes. So let's all hope and pray, and let's stick together, and let's come out of it, hopefully with new owners and new optimism for the future.
Thank you, Keith. Liam, welcome to the show for first time. It's an honor.
Yeah, really good to be on. Thanks for inviting us.
Liam, I read today your article. You said it's closer than ever. Imminent, the takeover. Also, it's not early to ask you. You mentioned something about slightly different in the deal restructure or the percentage. Also, would like to ask you what your take on the latest news today.
So yeah, I did a piece. Everyone wants to check it out. Newcastle World. That's my new venture. Little plug before I start. So I did a piece today talking about a lot of the stuff that's been rolling around in the last few weeks about restructures and percentages. I've heard exactly the same things. My understanding as it is at the moment is it just goes as is. Look, that may change, it may not, but it sounds as though it's just the deal that it was before. Of course, the PCP consortium, as I call it, with PCP, the Reuben brothers, and the majority shareholder, of course, PIF. It does feel quite a monumental day, to be honest. Everybody sitting here on this call has been involved in conversations, has spent a lot of time and effort in trying to get things moving in the right direction at times. I know, Keith, we've we've been in that position where it's almost having to G things up and speak to people and get things moving in certain directions. And we've used the contacts that we have to try and keep this thing moving. That's not for 1 second I'm going to sit here and take credit for that. And Keith can take certainly a lot more credit than anybody else, that I know anyway. Of course, Steve Wraith as well, who's been influential in this process as well. But yeah, as my understanding is that we are closer than ever. But I would just, as Keith mentioned, I would always say this: until it's done, it's not done. And until we see an official announcement, you won't hear any sort of hisses from cans opening. From me, you'll hear a few when we do get that announcement. And I would honestly say, it's easy to say we've been in this position before. Of course we have, but I don't think it was ever this close. There was always the huge barrier in the way. There was a number of barriers, and the Premier League's resolve has been tested by a numerous-pronged attack, really, from the Newcastle United legal teams. Not just one team, two separate teams here. We've had the arbitration, we've had the CAT case, we've also had a lot of conversations going on behind that, conversations between PIF and the club, conversations between PIF, the Premier League and the club, the consortium, the rest of the consortium members involved as well. It's been an attack using pressures, using evidence. There's a lot of evidence against the Premier League that they didn't do things right in making the decision correctly. The behaviour has changed at certain points during the year, last year. It was going in April. It might be going in May, and it was off by June. Why did that change? I think we all know there were certain elements, certain outside parties, outside influences. For example, clubs, as mentioned in the CAT case last week, and also beIN Sports. All part of the evidence, all part of the case against the Premier League. No, anybody who tries to discount and say that it was irrelevant, the CAT didn't, that's why it didn't happen, or the arbitration was the only thing that would win this case. The arbitration would deliver potentially the deal, which other things wouldn't, but it all played a part, all played a massive part. The pressure of conversations behind closed doors, the pressure of that evidence, the leaning on people from behind the scenes. There's been a lot of things going on in this deal. And I mentioned this quite a few times, maybe in the last 2 to 3 months, that it had gone majorly quiet. And you do wonder, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We always knew that things were going on. We knew these conversations were taking place, but you're never ever sure of the outcome. And I think if anything we'd learned anything over the course of the last nearly 2 years, maybe, sort of year and 3 quarters, is that you can't take anything for granted in this process. There's always twists and turns, and we've just got to keep our fingers crossed now that those twists and turns are gone. It kind of feels like we're 95% of the way there, and I think everyone here will probably tend to agree with that. But look, save the cans in the fridge for now, and we'll all enjoy them as and when this happens. I fully expect now that this... Oh, he's there. He's got it ready. Do you know what? I looked in my fridge before. I didn't have any. That shows how... Honestly, I'm not often a drinker in the week anyway, but I think I could make an exception this time if we get an announcement tonight or tomorrow. And that's not out of the question. There's been... What we're looking at is probably an agreement between the two. We don't know the detail of what kind of agreement that deal will have. We talked about a 300 million plus, just a touch over 300 million in the first place. There was a slight renegotiation, we're led to believe, after that, which took it up to 330, 340. Newcastle United, because of COVID, because of the financial situation, because of the club, the way that the direction they're heading in, I don't think anybody would argue that Newcastle United because of COVID, 340 million. So yeah, I think there'll be renegotiations, but there seems to be a broad agreement that things move forward. It's nice to know that there's the doubters out there have maybe been shut up, basically, who said it's dead, PIF are gone, this will never come back. Look, I, like everybody else probably sitting on this call, thought the same thing. At times during this process, you think, is this ever going to happen? Are the Premier League ever going to allow this to happen? Will the truth out? Will the evidence come to the fore? Will Newcastle United be able to show that evidence? I think last week, despite the fact some people will try to downplay it, last week for me was a huge step forward in this case. It almost opened the door to a lot of the things that we'd been talking about, a lot of the things we'd hinted at, a lot of the things I'd maybe written about, that some people suddenly level at you. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're making this up. You know, everybody isn't against Newcastle United. Well, no, they aren't. But the Premier League, certain clubs, beIN Sports, were against Newcastle United in this deal. And now we're at a point where hopefully this can be put behind us as a really, really long, really bad memory. And we can just forget about it and move on. And one thing I would say that I've just, as I was rushing onto this call, I've been around to see my dad, who's been a season ticket holder at Newcastle United for as long as I've been alive. Home and away before I came along as well. Sits in the Gallagher. There's no one loves Newcastle United more. And I spoke to him and he's asking what's going on. And I seen that glint in his eye again. It had disappeared. It had gone. I watched his not love of the club, but love of this Newcastle United disappear and die. At times it was a really difficult conversation having these sort of talks with him after games or whatever it may be. And there'll be thousands and thousands of Geordies out there who will have felt the same emotions, that their club wasn't their club anymore. And just that fire in there is just disappearing. And all it takes, and what I tweeted out before, light the blue touch paper on Tyneside and watch it fly. We will absolutely fly when you light the blue touch paper. Never mind selling out 52. There's 70 or 80,000 people would queue up to get in that stadium when things are going well. We had the slightest bit positivity under Rafa Benitez and you couldn't buy a ticket for love nor money. This will go up tenfold if everything goes forward as we expect it to.
Great stuff, Liam. Really appreciate what you said. I will come to you with a detailed question. Would like to welcome again my friend Stuart Binman, who was, remember the word imminent at beginning of the takeover. We are glad and honored to have you many times in our show. How you take this news? I know you are busy, Stuart, and thank you for coming. What's your take on the surprise today?
It's not really much of a surprise, is it? If we go back to the show that Keith and myself did on your show a couple of months ago, to me it's something that would always likely to happen. It's something we all wished would happen, where they can actually arbitrate between themselves. But a few pieces of the chessboard had to be moved first. And we're talking about it being a win-win-win situation, where it's a win for Mike Ashley. He gets the preferred buyer with the right money. It's obviously a win for the new owners, and it's a win for the Premier League because they've managed to stall and they'll save face. They'll say the deal's been restructured, etc., etc. Yet we all know it was through beIN. Now, I think we're at the final throes, and tomorrow we should have an announcement, if hopefully tonight, but if not, it'll be tomorrow. We'll have an announcement that we've got new owners, the ones we've craved for. So that's just my opinion, and let's see what happens.
I know it's like we. As you all lads say, I know it's not 100% yet, but with all this good news for me, I can't see it not happening. With all this now, all UK, it's all over UK, and I believe it's all over the world.
No,
all over Saudi Arabia. With
some of the statements that have been released from, shall we say, more critical people or people who have borne skepticism on the proposed PIF involvement for the last 18 months at least, you've seen a change in dialogue of them, how it's been more accepted, and how they're now trying to claim. Even Richard Keys today was, still harking back on to piracy. Irrespective, they've got what they want. They look strong. Saudi's going to look strong for sticking it out. The PIF have done a wonderful job staying silent and playing the game they've played. And of course, Amanda and the Reuben brothers and Jamie are going to be delighted as well, as we all are. And Mr. Ashley did keep his word at last. He would find us suitable buyers. The delays haven't been his fault. So we should actually celebrate him for once. So I'll have an iron brew. Thanks, Mike.
You made a good point there, actually. And it was one that...
I made lots of good points.
Oh, well, just the one. The domino effect today was quite incredible, wasn't it? Because it was almost like all the critical faces, all of the people who are most skeptical with regards to the deal just dropped like dominoes, one after the next one. It almost, for me, started with Simon Jordan, the pinnacle. Start with Simon Jordan and then went down from there. Like you say, Richard Keys was on that list and others. Everybody knows, everybody who's followed this process throughout the last 18 months will know those critical faces. And the tone changed, and it was instantaneous today when word came through. And that was it's quite in such a high profile.
Very relevant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's how they've kept it quiet, how they've managed to just keep it ticking over and just keep enough quiet to then suddenly now we've seen that explode, and it's quite a clever move.
Is it clever? Is it clever if you've been critical of something for 12 months, and if you've been telling people that they, lost the plot in shouting for what they wanted? Is it clever 2 days ago to say something's deader than dead, then today to say it's imminent? I mean, I don't think it's clever.
I'm saying the consortium have been quite clever to keep everything quiet.
Yeah.
Really then explode.
But when you see some of these journalists that's been critical of the fans, and if you say some of the stuff Richard Keys has put out, some of the videos he's done, and then today to say that's imminent or that there's nothing stopping it going through, it just looks like sour grapes to me. I mean, I would be more credible than people who's been on it all the way through and supported all the way through. If you talk to Stuart Penman, you've had criticism for just being positive, just where you make it up from. So
and happens, doesn't it?
But you have, and I have as well. So I think today, when people are starting to reverse the tanks and put a totally different story out, I think
Keith, it's easier to criticise than think, though. That's half the battle. Someone can just criticise you for no reason because either they want to believe it or they really don't want to believe it or they don't like you. Either way, stop following. Yeah. And if someone wants to be critical because I've said something that I believe to be true, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Not everything I'm going to say is right, but I speak my mind, and you can be wrong and you can be right, and that's just the way I say it.
There's a question here: if the deal went through in the next 24 hours or went through this week.
Actually, Mr. Keith, can I ask this question? And you will all have all the time, please. Okay. This question is related to the thing you say. It's 20. Martin Ziegler said the takeover could happen 24 hours. Craig Hope says it could be cancelled, the arbitration. So the question is also how sudden it's been, the piracy, not the separation, regarding to Craig Hope's tweet. And if it was, are the Premier League see it coming? Because obviously, almost 2 weeks ago, before the CAT case, Paris Saint-Germain and Nasser Al-Khalifi from BN Sport, they will visiting Saudi in January, mid of January 2022. So Premier League didn't see this coming, that the problem of BN will be fixed. And this is the topic of the arbitration, in your opinion? And how there is the CAT result? We're still waiting the result or the decision. The part of BN lobbying allegation, if it's settled, what's going to happen to it? Please, and sorry to interrupt. Please, Mr. Keith.
Don't ask me first, because that's the longest question I've ever heard asked.
Well, I mean, I think
I'll just follow on from Keith.
I think I've got the gist of what you're saying, and you're asking me a question as to really what caused it. So let's slowly take it all back, because listeners, if someone as bright as Stu who grasps the subject says it's difficult to follow that, anybody listening in will think, Jesus, how can you answer all those questions? So let's take it back a stage. If it was going to be done just by behind making friends with Saudi, what happens if the club had sold to somebody else in the meantime? Because nobody knew when behind was going to make friends with Saudi Arabia. So if that was the case, the club could have took a deal earlier of somebody else. That's a huge risk. But I think it's only when the behind letter was announced by the Newcastle QC in the CAT case, and he put it up and he said, "Do you know that?" He said to the judge, "Do you know that they have lobbied the other clubs?" As soon as you say that language in a competition court and say people's been collective lobbying, it's a game, set and match. When somebody's been lobbying against your competitors, it's game over. And any CAT judge would know that. Anybody in competition, every judge in there would have known that amounts to illegal behaviour. And maybe that hearing that in a court case in front of 33,000 people and 50 different people around the world cheering in, maybe you sat there and thought, this is for real now. And maybe Behind realised it was for real. So even though they'd agreed to bring Paris Saint-Germain over, all well and good, but that had no bearing on whether they were going to buy Newcastle or not. But for me, people talk about the arbitration. I'll go back to it, and Steve Hasty covered it on NUFC Matters very well. He said, arbitration is a 2 versus 1 panel. So you've got 2 people favouring the Premier League and 1 person favouring Newcastle. So I had no faith at all in the arbitration going ahead. And if the arbitration was the be-all and end-all, and that was the only thing that was important, why then did Newcastle spend millions in legal fees to get the CAT case to run before the arbitration? The reason they did that is because they wanted the pressure of the CAT, the disclosure that the CAT brought, to weaken the arbitration and to give facts over before the arbitration ran. If the arbitration ran first, under arbitration law, you cannot get disclosure. Under the CAT case, you get as much disclosure as you want. And to me, that's the difference. That's what I said all along, that this won't run. The Premier League couldn't do it. The Premier League couldn't do that deal. They couldn't defend the CAT case no matter what happened. So for me, I think it's been a combination of a lot of things. I think it's been a diligent buyer waiting in the wings. And you know, if you think of PIF, people said that they wouldn't have the patience and they'd be gone. And if you think of how many clubs PIF's supposed to have been buying, everybody, you know, Inter Milan, West Ham, Real Madrid, you name it. But they're still there waiting for Newcastle, hopefully. Secondly, I think it was a combination of 2 legal teams, as Liam carefully said, 2 legal teams. One that set a claim up and showed them that the fans were willing to take a claim on, which the Premier League said, you'll queue that behind the club. And secondly, the club having the wisdom to take that case on, to tailor it, put their own points to add to it, and then go through it. And for me, that's the way that this whole thing's gone. I think it's a case of a combination of 2 legal teams, a combination of a CAT case, an arbitration, behind breaking with Saudi Arabia. I think it's with Saudi Arabia being patient, the club realising they'd rather sell to Saudi Arabia than anybody else. I think it's a whole multitude of things. If anybody says one thing, I think they're drunk. I think that's a load of rubbish. So I think it is a combination of many, many things. And I'll say this to you tonight. If we get this takeover in the next 24 hours, you want to just stop for 2 minutes and think to yourself, we came so close to not getting it. So if we get it and things go well at Newcastle and we sit and enjoy and compete in the future, remember how many dirty tricks and how many bad tactics went in against Newcastle, because there was an awful lot of things came in against Newcastle that could have stopped this going through. And for me, I think we've been not lucky by any means, but I think we've been persistent. And when I say persistent, I mean the people at the club, like Newcastle United, has been persistent in wanting to get the best deal. I mean, don't get us wrong, it's the best deal for them money-wise, and it's the best deal with them ongoing, but it's the best deal for the club, the city, the infrastructure, and everybody connect with Newcastle United. So I don't think, you know, if somebody says to me, oh, well, this was always going to happen, well, you should have told the people at the club that, because they didn't know that. And I think it's fanciful to think that somebody decided to make an arrangement. I think you'll find out in the coming days that, for example, the decision on the CAT case might well have been made already. So I think you might find that the decision on the CAT case has already gone in our favour. And I think you might find that the Premier League were looking down the barrel, and that Behind and Saudi and everything else was the last thing to be done to make the deal go ahead. So I think it's all important, but the most important thing to all this is, who did Mike Ashley want to sell to? That's the most important thing. That had nothing to do with Behind. Who did he want to sell to? He's had other approaches, had 2 or 3 more approaches this year. So he might have just stepped off and ignored that, but he's stuck with it. PIF has stuck with it, and the fans have stuck with it. And I think the reason it's come together is because all these things have played together. I think it's all played as one.
Yeah, yes, Liam. If you same question, or I should repeat it.
Can you remember it?
Yeah, I have write it here.
So no, I kind of echo exactly what Keith said. Really, it's the culmination of this deal hasn't just been one factor. It's been a number of factors. It's been the legal cases. It's been the pressure exerted. It's been the use of the evidence, for example, that is within the club's power to exert that kind of pressure. There has been obviously the softening of relations between the Saudis and Qatar, that geopolitical war that we've seen played out on Tyneside, which we never expected ever to be talking about. Sort of me covering Newcastle United and following it as well, like the lads around here. But yeah, I think it's been an incredibly taxing time for Newcastle United fans. I think it's been a really tough. It was meant to be a deal that brought a fan base together and set us up for life. And in a lot of ways, the process of getting to this point has been amazingly divisive among the fan base because there has been so much frustration. And I don't level that at all on the people trying to buy the club. It's born of Mike Ashley, and it's born of the negativity that comes with 14 and a half years of that rubbish that were being served up. But it's been incredibly divisive. There's been a lot of people claiming conspiracy. There's been a lot of people criticising people like Stu, criticising people like Keith, like Steve Wraith, like Steve Hasty, like Mitch. Good, honest lads who've got Newcastle United in their heart, who only want what's best for this football club. But people accuse them of all sorts. And look, it's my job. I don't mind. I take the criticism. But when there's lads like who are sitting alongside me in this call today, who put their neck on the line, who have only got Newcastle United's best interests at heart, get that kind of criticism, it's tough to take. But also, in some kind of way, I can understand the criticism as well. People are fed up, they're frustrated, none of the personal stuff. But people didn't want to believe it. It was easier not to believe this would happen. It was the way the comfort blanket was to turn around and say, it's dead, it's a load of rubbish. People fell back on that idea that it's easier for me to accept it's gone and forget about it. But we knew it wasn't gone. We knew it was still rumbling away, and we knew it was something worth fighting for. And I remember I go back to one of my first conversations with Keith, and he'll know we've had these conversations where I might have had a little wobble. He's had little wobbles at times, very few I might add, but I had a wobble, and he says, is it worth fighting for, Liam? And yes, it is. Well, you've got to fight for it then. You can't just give up. And that stuck with us all the way through this process because it's been a tough one. And I think it's scarred a lot of people. But fingers crossed that, like I say, we can now start looking ahead and moving forward. A new manager, a new style of play, new players. I mean, God, that like the fact it'd be amazing to think Newcastle United could actually just treat a transfer window like a normal Premier League football club. We're not asking for the earth. We don't necessarily want to be. Well, wait there. I'll stop myself. We do want to be the best, but we don't demand to be the best. Of course, everybody wants what's best for their football club. But I think that we can at least now, and the smallest celebrations would be the end of Mike Ashley. We've yearned for this day. We've yearned for this day that Mike Ashley leaves our football club because he's been a parasite. He's been an absolute disgrace to this football club in the 14 and a half years, the way he's treated fans, the way he's treated journalists, the way he's treated former heroes, Kevin Keegan, Alan Shearer. He's a parasite. To be rid of him would be the bare minimum celebration. It could be anybody buying the football club, and a lot of people would celebrate. The fact with this is the deal made in heaven. This is the potential for Newcastle United to become the richest football club in the Premier League, the richest club on the planet. And I'm really excited, if this deal goes through, to walk that road with like the lads on this show, with the lads who I know, me mates, me family. I'm happy to walk that road because Newcastle United, the black and white shirt, the badge, something I'm proud of. I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm proud of my city. And I want to be proud of my football club too. And it's been too long since I've been able to say that.
I think something else that what you is a lot of people that aren't totally football related, they'll see benefit from this because there'll be a massive injection to property values, to property investment, to building companies in and around Newcastle. Because you look at what Leicester City have done to their training ground. People are saying, I don't know what the numbers were, but people are saying it was in the region. Somebody said it was 300 million. Yeah, I don't know what the cost was, but they're saying that you'll need that kind of money to develop something that Leicester City did. And then look at St James's. You know, it's a great stadium, but it's in need of investment. You know, it's in need of infrastructure repairs. It's in need of development. And the big thing is, it's not going to be big enough, because 55,000 ain't going to cover what's coming to us now. So when you put that together and you think of people who want a B&B in Jesmond, a hotel in Newcastle, restaurants, bars, pubs, memorabilia shops like me mate Mickey Edmondson, back page. Imagine his business, what it's worth post PIF takeover. I mean, his business must double. So there's a lot of people with a lot at stake, and I'm pleased for the builders, the plasterers, the tradespeople around Newcastle that's going to get work, because if it is what we hope it's going to be, it's going to be a massive investment in our city. And like Liam says, we don't demand to win, but we do want to compete. You know what I mean? It's like somebody said, don't love us, but please respect us. And I think when you go on a pitch and you have at least 50% possession, you feel as though you're in the game. But when you get 26%, 22%, 17%, when you look at your manager and his wins ratio is less than 30%, it's quite a gloomy thing to go. I travelled to Wolves and sat there when I went down. You know, I enjoyed the journey down, but it took a lot longer to get back. And the journey back was difficult. You know, it was a tiresome journey. You know what I mean? When knackered come back, going down, you're just on a high because you're just full of hope. But if you imagine if some of that hope at Newcastle is filled with, I don't know, with players who count, because, you know, St Maxim looks a world beater. But if we start competing, and if we start investing in the right players, he might be one of our good players. And that's a mouth-watering thought, that he could be that. And then you look at people like Willock, who looks like they're being the right character, the right personality. And to be honest, we hope to buy people way beyond that level. And you hope that the Willocks come through and the St Maxims come through and learn from them players. But we've lacked world-class players since people like Ginola and them was left. You know, Shearer, since they've never been replaced. We've never had what you'd call world beaters. And I don't think any Newcastle supporter is saying, you know, we've got to win the league in 3 years. But it'd be nice to go to Man City away or play Liverpool at home and think you've got a chance of winning. That's the big thing. Rather than writing the fixtures off. I think that's what we're all looking for. And if this happens, if it comes, it's coming next couple of days, might be in hours, then I'm just so pleased for everybody on here, all the fans. I couldn't be happier. You know, just to be one of you and get the same as what you get out of it. I've had 14 months of abuse, but by God, it'll be worth it. It doesn't cause us any harm. And like Liam says, you know, I've had very few wobbles, but all the way through. Stu Penman's one of them people that I spoke to regularly. You know, he's in Tenerife at the minute, but he's normally in Bahrain, and I'll pick the phone up and talk to him. And he is one of them positive people. He's one of them people who's carried the flag, and if you like, sided with me and said, no, I think we will get it. And there's, you know, even in the darker times, Stuart, you've been confident that it would come through, and you know, and had criticism for it. But I just hope tonight all the people had all the rubbish, and I hope all the people who's lost faith and lost hope, I just hope you can get it back, and I hope that all the fan base will come together and work as one to get behind this team. Because if people invest in this the level they should, it'll need. There's only black and white Geordies who are going to ever support this the way it needs support, and I'm looking forward to it, because I think all the factions might just die off and everybody can get behind the team, which would be an amazing thing.
No, well, I think we'll have to, like, this. If this doesn't galvanise the fan base, nothing will. You know, it's a dream. So, you know, never mind those who said that I might not be right for what I was saying. And if I'm proven right, great. Some will be man enough to apologise. Some won't. But you know what? Let's just move on from it, because, you know, rather this he said, she said, that we said, that you said, that I know that they said, and it's, you know, it's actually pathetic. It's like being at school. It's becoming too easy just to start criticising people. You know, have a debate. You know, tell someone that you don't believe what they're saying. No need to get personal and just move on from it. You know, but I'd rather talk about the football. You know, and I think we've got a bigger battle coming ahead once this takeover is announced, because instantly everyone will want to beat Newcastle, and we're not ready for that yet. You know, so without sounding like Gary Barlow, we're going to have a little bit of patience. and allow the club to choose the right people to do the right jobs, and let us become slowly the most hated. So I know Liam mentioned there about win the league in 3 years. We're not expecting that. That's the thing. We're not expecting it. You know, some people think we should have it. Some people think we shouldn't, but we're not expecting that at all. You know, and again, carrying on from what Liam said earlier, we'll have 70,000 people there. They've had 50,000 most weeks over the last 4 or 5 years anyway. You know, so it's only been a dip last season and this season, so it doesn't matter. You know, let's look forward. Everyone's going to want to beat us. We need to start sticking together and show that we are worth investing in, and we'll become a club that we were all proud of. We still are proud, and we'll continue to be proud. And there's people watching this who'll have children who'll grow up wanting to support Newcastle, whereas they might not have. You know, like, so, and then the grandchildren, you know, we're moving on, and there'll be people looking, watching this, who will get jobs because of this investment, and their friends will get jobs, and their parents will get jobs, you know, and the whole region becomes better. So we're just about there. That's it.
The other thing I'm hearing as well is, and you put up on the bottom of the thing, is 9 o'clock. This press out now. There's going to be an announcement on Sky Sports. So I don't know whether that's what we wait for.
Is that not the unveiling of the Bruce Willis lookalikes or something on 9 o'clock?
Well, I mean, it can't be. I mean, Bruce Willis has been going on today telling everyone he looks like me, which is not. But I think it's on the bottom. Lee Richardson's you've put on. There's a 9 o'clock statement by Sky Sports. So I don't know.
We'll have to get John to do a T-shirt, Keith. Bruce Willis, ordinary fan. And put your face on it. That's worth bidding for.
Lads, when Premier League will say something?
Probably would.
Go on, Keith.
Premier League.
The club announcer, wouldn't
I think the only time the Premier League will announce something like that, if, for example, the Premier League Newcastle have been told the day that the CAT case was going ahead, they make a decision because both will find out. If they decide to put the deal through as a result of that, I don't think the Premier League will rush to do the announcement. I think the Premier League will answer questions, and I think they'll, you know, if someone said, you know, are you pleased that Newcastle's now been taken over? I think they'll answer in a diplomatic way. But I don't. If there's a takeover resulting from any of that, I don't think the Premier League will be the person announce it. I think the club will be the people announce it, and I think they've made that agreement as well. I think the club and the Premier League will be in talks to say how it's getting announced.
I hope it's not. I've just that. Did you see us take a phone call there? It was Talk. I'm going to be going on Talk Sport at 9:10. So on 9 o'clock, I hope this statement doesn't. I hope it comes before I go on there, so I know what I'm talking about, lads.
I thought it was a pizza place telling you that we didn't have extra anchovies. Your face was just good. Oh no, really upset.
But that's what I think. I think that if there's an announcement on Sky Sports announced, I think that's what we're waiting for. So let's just hope. I mean, at the end of the day, none of us on here are bothered when it first comes out, when it breaks. All we want to do is go to bed tonight or go to bed tomorrow night and be happy that it's done. You know, like the only thing that matters to us for it's a done deal. Nothing else. Nothing else matters at all. Then after that, it's a journey and it's a ride, and we just should go and enjoy it and see what plays out. Because once that happens, it's out of our hands. It's just you're in Disney World then on the best rides in the world.
Well, that's it, Keith. We've been fortunate to have the first roller coaster ride that's just going one way, you know, through the Keegan years. And so it's important that the people now do just enjoy it, you know, and we've got this plan, we've got another 9 years yet before we're expected to win things, if we want to use the word expectation. We want to be up there challenging and known as one of the best teams in Europe by 2030 for the 100th anniversary of Saudi Arabia. You know, so for the Vision 2030, they'll do it with patience. They've seen the Manchester City model, how it's been build, not expecting it all at once. No one I know is expecting us to win something this season or even next season. You know, we'll hope to be able to compete. And as better people than me have said, just to get to Wembley and watch our team win a cup, I'd love them to win the FA Cup first, you know, and being able to see that. That would just fulfill so many dreams. And there's people, especially when you get to Keith's age, you know, you've got to think we'll ever see it again. You know, so hopefully it isn't the 3 years you mentioned.
He's not listening, is he? He's not fighting with that.
Well, he's Bruce Willis, isn't he? He's just working out how I've got to die hard now. That's the thing.
Two tips that you said, scratch your nose if you think it's happening. So I'm stood going like that.
But you know what he really said, and you wouldn't do that. Never mind.
I know, lads. It's now it's very valuable time. Thank you really for your coming tonight. Everybody want to know. Maybe now we spent for about 40 minutes and we don't know what news maybe happen. Last word for you all, lads.
I think it's you've got to accept that when all the press that's been against the takeover comes forward and does the humble pie statement to do today, and when people are putting this as close as it's ever been and it's imminent, there's no smoke without fire. So I would just say keep your cans ready. That's what I would say. Keep them ready because I'm hoping that this long 18-month battle that we've waited for, that our club deserves more than anybody else, that our city has long awaited. I think it's close.
I agree. What I would say. My last word on it would be, I don't think anybody does expect, but it's a weird situation, and I think there might be decisions taken in the short term. Of course, I don't imagine Steve Bruce will be hanging around for very long, but there might be decisions taken in the short term that wouldn't be long-term decisions. There may be managers brought in. There may be certain decisions taken that don't necessarily tick all the boxes long-term, medium-term. I would just say let's just forget the fact that we've had. Well, let's just remember that Mike Ashley's been here for so long, and any decisions that are taken short-term to get Newcastle United through this season, because we're actually a fair chunk of the way into this season with no win to our name, and I think this is the kind of lift-off that this football club needs. But any new manager coming in is still going to have it tough because Newcastle United haven't played anybody yet. They've only got 31 games left. They've got to play virtually all of the top 6 home and away still to the end of the season. It's going to be a tough fight to stay in this division. But you would hope with the positivity that comes along with a takeover that whoever comes in to replace Steve Bruce, and I think that is an inevitability about this, because any new owner coming in will look and say, what's me supporter base and what do they want? NUFC Trust did that. They put something out and it was 95% said we don't want Steve Bruce anymore. Look, you might not have agreed with a word in the questions. They danced around the subject a little bit, but effectively what Newcastle United fans said, their members in particular, was said, get him out. And I think that's one of the easiest decisions that any new owner will have at Newcastle United is to get rid of Steve Bruce.
Stuart,
I was just going to pick up what Liam said earlier, and I started, then I digressed. Was about the 80,000 fans and how there's 52,000 there practically anyway. I was speaking to one of my good friends, Darren Stewart, earlier, and he would go back. He hasn't been there for about 15 years. You know, the old jokes that don't come and see me when I'm bad. But some of the things he said is right, but I can't help myself supporting as he does. But, you know, he's like, you look, why... When we even were younger, we used to go to the games and we weren't that good, but we always had a bit of hope. There hasn't been that for a few years, you know, and now the hope's back. So instead of everyone trying to score points and win things, just enjoy it. You know, enjoy that we're going to have a fantastic time and just put a bit of trust into the people who have fought so hard to get us. And together we can go where we've always dreamed of going. So if you had doubts, good. You probably had every reason to have doubts. You know, and even to this stage, you probably still have. But let's hope tomorrow that we're all happy and we're all celebrating the same thing, and we can put any differences aside and just enjoy this. This is an amazing, amazing thing.
It's one thing
Keith, when you were saying that, we spoke. There was one time we had a call, and I won't say too much about it, but he's like, "I'm not sure if this is finished." And I says, "It won't, Keith. I'll tell you, these are the reasons why." And we end up talking. It was meant to be a quick call. We ended up talking for about 50 minutes or so. And then I think a week later we'll come on your show, وليد, and the belief is there. You know, we know what had to be done, and I think over the years, all of us have supported Newcastle. You end up with a mentality of like it's going to go wrong, you know, because we've all seen it on the pitch so many times. It's going to go wrong. It's going to go wrong, and just this once, it looks like it's going to go right. So as Keith said, enjoy it.
There's one thing I want to say tonight before we go off is the Premier League tackled Al Walid's account So all you people that's dialed in watching tonight, I would say, can you subscribe? He's got a few hundred subscribers, but he wants a few thousand. But on his Twitter account, he had 5,000 followers. And then what happened is the Premier League attacked him, basically for just being a football fan. And they took his account down via Twitter. So what I want to say to you tonight is, if you go on Al Waleed's account, and he'll put up at the end of the show and tell you what to go do on Twitter, the least you can do is follow him. And we should make an effort. He's been the best Saudi Arabian supporter we could ever dream of. He's been brilliant for me. He's rang us morning, day and night. And whenever he gets in touch, he's the most polite man on the planet. So it would do me a big favour if you could follow him on Twitter and subscribe to the show and get him the numbers. I mean, he needs to get back to 5,000 Twitter followers quickly just to put him where he was before the Premier League attacked him. And we know what they do, and we know what their game is. We know it's been a concerted effort to stop this takeover. But let's hope that we're talking hours away from, or even minutes or whatever away from us winning this battle. But look after Al Waleed, both on here and on Twitter, and that'll do me a lot of pleasure. Cheers.
Thank you, sir. I'm speechless sometimes. Thank you all. Let's see what Sky Sport have for us tonight. It's hopefully it's imminent. Good night, lads.
Good night.
Cheers.
النداء الأخير. تعلن الخطوط الجوية السعودية عن إقلاع رحلتها رقم 524 والمتجهة بمشيئة الله تعالى إلى
Newcastle. Fed over all the way. What a goal!
بالنسبه لما يجيك ستيف بروس مثلا يحط لك 5 في خط الدفاع ويلعب مهاجمين.
Excuse me,
اللاعبين في النص.
what is your VPN?
My VPN?
Yes.
My VPN is Spider VPN.
Newcastle. Fed over all the way. What a goal! Hassan fed over. A magnificent goal. Coming home, Newcastle. Cisse. Oh, that is sensational!